Nathan loved old cars. He dreamt of them, sleek chrome beauties, the kind that roared to life with a turn of the key and glistened under the moonlight. Each night he would find himself lost in thoughts of these mechanical marvels, imagining the stories they held and the roads they had traveled. He yearned to restore one to its former glory. The idea of taking a forgotten relic and breathing new life into it consumed him. He spent countless hours in his garage, surrounded by tools and parts, envisioning the day he would find the perfect project car, to feel the rumble of the engine, that deep resonant growl that spoke of power and freedom. It was a sound that stirred something primal within him, a connection to a bygone era of motoring, to smell the leather seats, the rich, intoxicating aroma that filled the cabin, a scent that spoke of craftsmanship and history. It was more than just a car, it was a time machine, a portal to the past. One day he saw an ad. It was buried in the back pages of an old newspaper, almost as if it were waiting for him to find it. The words seemed to leap off the page, igniting a spark of excitement within him. A 1968 Dodge Charger, his dream car, the very model he had fantasized about for years. It was a symbol of raw power and classic design, a true icon of American muscle. It was cheap, too cheap. The price seemed almost too good to be true, and a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. But the allure of the Charger was too strong to resist. But the desire burned within him. It was a fire that could not be extinguished, a longing that had taken root deep in his soul. He knew he had to take the chance, no matter the risks. He had to have it. He called the number. A raspy voice answered. The sound sent a shiver down his spine, but he steeled himself, determined to see this through. "Interested in the Charger, are you?" it rasped. Nathan's heart pounded. This was it. The moment he had been waiting for. He could hardly believe it was happening. His chance to own a piece of history, a tangible link to the past, something he could touch and feel. It was more than just a car, it was a dream come true. "Yes," Nathan managed, his voice barely a whisper. He could feel the weight of the moment, the significance of what he was about to do. It was a leap of faith, but one he was ready to take. He was going to see the car. The anticipation was almost unbearable, a mix of excitement and anxiety that made his heart race. He could hardly wait to lay eyes on the Charger. He was going to make it his. No matter what it took, no matter the obstacles, he was determined to bring the Charger home. It was his destiny, a dream that was finally within reach. The address led him to a derelict garage. It was a place that seemed forgotten by time, a relic of a bygone era. The walls were crumbling and the roof sagged under the weight of years of neglect. It was on the edge of town. Shadows clung to it like cobwebs, weaving a tapestry of darkness that seemed almost alive. The air was thick with the scent of rust and decay, a testament to the garage's long abandonment. An old man stood outside. His eyes were like chips of ice, cold and unyielding. He seemed to blend into the shadows as if he were a part of them. His presence was unsettling, a stark contrast to the stillness of the night. "You want the Charger?" the old man rasped, his voice like gravel. It was a question, but it felt more like a challenge, a test of Nathan's resolve. He pointed a gnarled finger at the car. It was covered in dust, a thick layer that spoke of years of disuse. The car was a ghost of its former self, a forgotten beauty waiting to be revived. But Nathan could see its potential. It was beautiful, even under the grime. He could imagine it restored, gleaming under the sun, a testament to his skill and dedication. "Yes," Nathan said, his voice firmer now, but a shiver ran down his spine. The garage, the old man, the car, it all felt like a scene from a nightmare, a place where reality and fantasy blurred. He couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The old man chuckled, a sound that sent chills down Nathan's spine. It was a laugh devoid of warmth, filled with a sinister undertone. "She's a beauty, all right, but she's got a past, a dark past," the old man said, his eyes glinting with a strange light. It was as if he were sharing a secret, one that carried a heavy weight. Nathan brushed it off. He was here for the car, not stories. Yet the old man's words lingered in his mind, a whisper of caution that he chose to ignore. He was determined to make the Charger his, no matter the cost. Nathan towed the Charger back to his garage. The air felt heavier, colder. He started cleaning it. Dust swirled around him like smoke. Underneath, the paint gleamed. It was a deep blood red. As he worked, he heard whispers, soft, indistinct. They seemed to come from the car. He shook his head. It was just the wind, or maybe his imagination. He replaced the spark plugs. The engine coughed, sputtered. Then it roared to life. The sound was deafening, it vibrated through him. He felt a thrill, but also a strange unease, like he had awakened something. Nathan spent all his free time working on the Charger. He replaced parts, polished chrome. The car was becoming his obsession. He felt strangely connected to it. One night he was working late. He was alone. The only sound was the radio playing softly in the background. Suddenly the radio cut out. Static crackled. Then a woman screamed. He spun around. The Charger's engine was running. It hadn't been running. He hadn't started it. He approached the car cautiously. The engine purred, like a predator content with its prey. Section 5. A Ride into Darkness. Nathan started taking the Charger for short drives just around the block. It was his way of getting used to the car, feeling its power and responsiveness. The hum of the engine was comforting, a reminder of simpler times. But as the days went by, those short drives began to feel different. There was an unsettling sensation, a feeling that he wasn't alone in the car, but it didn't feel like he was in control. The steering wheel felt heavy, almost as if it had a will of its own. Nathan's hands would sweat, his grip tightening involuntarily. He would glance at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone or something in the back seat. The car seemed to have a mind of its own. The dashboard lights would flicker, casting ghostly shadows inside the car. The radio would turn on by itself, playing static or old haunting tunes. Nathan felt like he was being watched, the car's interior becoming a prison of eerie sensations. One day he was driving, the usual route, the same streets he had driven countless times before. But this time, something was different. The air felt thicker, the night darker. He couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being led somewhere. The sun was setting, casting long, eerie shadows. The sky turned a deep shade of purple, the last rays of sunlight disappearing behind the horizon. The world around him seemed to change, becoming more sinister with each passing moment. He felt the car pulling him away from town, towards the highway. It was as if an invisible force was guiding the vehicle, taking him further and further away from the safety of his home. The familiar streets gave way to the open road, the highway stretching out before him like a dark, endless ribbon. He tried to steer, but the wheel wouldn't budge. Fear clawed at him. He was trapped. He pressed the brakes. They were unresponsive. Panic set in, his heart racing as he realized he had no control over the car. The vehicle seemed to have a life of its own, a malevolent force driving it forward. The car sped up, faster and faster. The scenery outside became a blur, the lights of the city fading into the distance. Nathan's knuckles turned white as he gripped the steering wheel, his mind racing with thoughts of how to escape this nightmare. The engine roared like a beast. The sound was deafening, a growl that seemed to come from the depths of the car's soul. It was a sound that filled Nathan with dread, a reminder that he was at the mercy of this monstrous machine. It was taking him somewhere unknown, somewhere dark. The road ahead was a mystery, shrouded in darkness and uncertainty. Nathan could only hold on and hope that he would find a way out before it was too late. Section 6. The Screaming Road. The road stretched before him, endless. The Charger was a blur of red, the wind screamed past. He clung to the steering wheel, his knuckles white. He saw a sign flash by. It was the same road. The road to the derelict garage, where he bought the car. It was like the car was returning to its birthplace, taking him with it. He closed his eyes, braced himself. He didn't want to die, but it felt inevitable, like he was destined to crash. And the car, the cursed car, would live on. Section 7. The crash. The impact was deafening. Metal shrieked, glass shattered, the world spun, then darkness. Section 8. A new owner. Weeks later, a tow truck hauled the Charger away. It was a mangled wreck, but the engine was still humming. A low, sinister purr. A young man stood watching. His eyes gleamed with excitement. He had just bought the car, at a bargain price. The old man who sold it to him just smiled. Section 9. The curse continues. The young man drove away. The Charger's engine roared. It was ready for a new journey, a new owner. The cycle would continue. The old man watched it go. He knew. He knew what fate awaited the young man. He chuckled. Some things never die, they just find a new driver, a new soul to consume.